This week on the Navigating Personal Growth podcast, Jasmine is a keynote speaker. She has found herself in the, dredges and depths and valleys of corporate America and coming out of that and worked with some amazing companies, is award-winning, and I'm so excited to share her journey with you guys here today. Hey Navigators, my name is Brooke Plack and I am your host here today on the Navigating Personal Growth podcast. And we are so excited to have a special guest here to introduce you to today. Jasmine Brett Stringer is sure to be a joy. Yay! Welcome.
Good morning, good day, good afternoon, wherever anyone is listening from. Brooke, I am so thrilled to be here with you today.
Well, I'm so excited. So Jasmine is a keynote speaker. She has found herself in the, dredges and depths and valleys of corporate America and coming out of that and worked with some amazing companies, is award-winning. And I'm so excited to share her journey with you guys here today. So Jasmine, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I like to say that I am on a mission to help people live more authentic, connected, and mindful lives. And I do that through the lens of positivity, but not toxic positivity, positivity and resiliency. And because I am an innate internal optimism.
Mm-hmm.
And so I recognize that life be lifing all the time.
Right.
And so I want to teach people how to surf. I think this is the first time I said that. I want to teach people how to surf because when
you need to put that on a shirt. Get that on a shirt, girl. Sure. Yes.
These waves are coming at us. So how do we learn to stand up and ride those waves?
That's good. That is really, really good. That's good. I love that. I'm doing a Bible study with some women at my church right now. My best friend is just the most amazing woman ever. And she wrote the curriculum, and it's about the landscapes of life, like mountains, valleys, deserts, stormy waters. And I think that's such a good analogy. Like you just have to be able to surf through all those.
Yeah. We've got to ride the waves because it comes and it goes.
It does. All right. So you live in Minnesota now on a farm.
I do. I split my time. Yep, I married a farmer, but I'm not a farm girl 100%. So I still have some city suburb girl in me,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And so your husband's a farmer. You live there. You have a chow puppy. He's a chow?
A puppy, a four-legged puppy is our child, Charlie. Yes, very rambunctious. So
I love that. All right. And tell us a little bit about what does your day-to-day life look now? And then we'll kind of dive into your history in corporate America and how you got to where you are now.
Well, I like to say that not one day is the same in my life. So we're going to talk about right now. I am running a business, Carpe Diem with Jasmine, where I'm a professional speaker. We also offer training and consulting work, narrative work. We come into organizations. We do a lot about resiliency these days. And then I am also a grad student. I'm getting a master's in applied positive psychology at the University of Pennsylvania. So my days are filled with a lot of homework, a lot of reading. This semester, we have group projects. So I'm juggling meetings, trying to meet with my cohort, meet with my homework partner, meet with my map partner. So there's a lot of moving pieces these days. And then, like I said, I am a wife. I'm a daughter. I lost my father in September, so I'm keeping extra eyes on my mom these days. And I'm just trying to do all the things, and trying to make sure that I remember, and because I practice this, that we got to put the oxygen mask on ourselves. So
we do. We really do.
To refill my cup. And then, did I mention that I'm a friend too? And I enjoy spending time with my friends.
Yes, that is so good. I love that you explained all those hats though, because I think as women, I think you speak from what you know, right? And I know that men wear a lot of hats too, but I speak from a woman because I'm a woman and that's my experience, is we are never one thing.
No.
we're never like right now, my son homeschools. He could walk in right behind us in the middle of this podcast. He's 7 and he might, who knows, and my fur babies, I have 2 Boston Terriers. They might come up right behind us. And when we get off this call, we may both have, messages from friends who are in crises and need us for a
Right?
minute. And I just think, well, see, there's one of our fur babies right there.
Yeah.
I think that, that's life though. And we can't ever just be a keynote speaker or just be a
No.
consultant or just be, a friend or a daughter and all these things. And learning how to like get that all together is pretty incredible. So this is
Well,
an
you're
incredible.
from Arkansas, Brooke. I like to say we're like good pots of gumbo. You like gumbo?
Yes,
A little
yes,
bit of
girl,
this, a little
yes.
andouille, chicken,
Crawfish.
crawfish, crab, shrimp, okra,
Yes,
tomato, corn,
yes.
whatever you like in your gumbo. We're a little bit of that, and you put it together, and it's some yumminess.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so this company is incredible. I'm all about this. I love this. I'm actually working on launching my coaching business this month. So I'm excited about doing one-on-one coaching with women. And so I'm just admire everything that you've built. And I want to know how you got to this, because anybody that becomes a coach or a consultant, well, I shouldn't say anybody, most people, they've been through it first before they
Right.
got there. So
Well,
how did you get to this?
We learn from our lived experiences, right? And so you mentioned it. I worked in corporate for many years. I was in the food industry. I worked for 2 of the top food companies, I dare to say, in the world, definitely in the country. I did a variety of sales roles and customer marketing. And you know what happened? I was laid off. And I think a lot of people have been laid off. A lot of people are worried about being laid off as we are recording this. And it ended up being the biggest blessing in disguise because I knew that I wanted to do something different with my life. But what the different was, I really wasn't taking the time to try to figure it out. My life was very comfortable. I had a lot of perks. Uh, and unfortunately, so much of my identity, even though I've always been a Christian, but so much of my identity, and I didn't realize this, I wasn't conscious to it at that point, was tied to what I did, like who I worked for, what I did. Most of my friends were from that company. And so all of the process of trying to figure out what's next was like very daunting and a very overwhelming
Yeah.
process. And so I never did it. But then when I was laid off, it was like I was pushed out. God pushed me. He
Right.
was like, girl, all right, what are you going to do? You got to figure it out. And so I say that being laid off was the biggest blessing in disguise because it gave me the gift of paid time off to think. And so from that, in this process I talk about in my book, Seize Your Life, How to Carpe Diem Every Day, I started dabbling. I started working with some companies like on a project base for work that I thought I might be interested in the advertising industry. I worked in New York, believe it or not. I lived my little Sex in the City life. I was doing 2 weeks a month in New York. But nonetheless, I realized that I've been living my life by the phrase Carpe Diem since I was in high school. And that I think that people were missing the mark when they heard this idea of Carpe Diem or phrases like YOLO, like, seize the day. You only live once. And that is so very true. And we need to be
It is.
intentional about it. So I always say, like, how do you dream like you're going to live forever, but really be intentional about today? Like today could be your last day. And so this has become my life's work. And I said that it really is about helping people show up authentically, like who they are, because the world tries to condition us and tell us that we need to do other things. And, like, I'm going to say this, like, I'm a glamour girl. Like, I'm not a girl that doesn't like to have makeup and lipstick and eyelashes on. That's authentically who I am. Now, I might not love to get my nails done, but I'm trying to embrace this spirit, even in my girly girl and stuff, like getting my nails done, because I was like, oh my God, that's another chore.
Another thing.
And then
Yeah.
how do we show up? Yeah, another thing to do in the list, and it is not self-care because I'm trying to squeeze it in at a very jam-packed schedule. How do we live connected lives, recognizing that we need each other? The number one thing a person can have in their toolbox is social support. Social support is the number one tool. So these connections that we have, and then how do you live a mindful life? How do you live a mindful life? And remember, we can always come back to the present moment.
Right. Yeah. That's so good. I think, so have you read the book? I'm going to forget. Is it Think Like a Monk, Live Like a Monk? Jay Shetty's book. I'm like forgetting the title of it. But anyway, all right. So
I
Jay
don't know
Shetty's,
that
he's
book, but I
this
read
guy.
a couple. I know Jay Shetty. I love Jay Shetty.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't know
Yeah.
if I
He's
read
got a
Think Like a
podcast and all
Monk.
the things.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it's Think Like a Month. So we'll link it in the show notes, but he talks in the book. He moved into a monastery for a little while, moved out, then went like take times in the monastery. And he said the very first time he walked into a Buddhist monastery, there was like a 10-year-old boy teaching young boys. And he asked him, "What are you teaching them?" And he said, "I'm teaching them how to breathe." And he said, "Why?" And he said, "Because no matter what happens in life, you can always come back to your breath. Like that's the
Yeah.
one thing that stays with you." I think I would add on to that and say that and your education, because I think once you have education, it can never be taken from you as well, right? But like you're saying, being mindful and remembering you can always come back to being more mindful. I think that's like connecting with our breath, connecting with our energy core, like knowing who we are in spite of the waves and the chaos and everything else that's going on in life, you know?
That's the number one way that you can calm yourself. I mean, and I know people are like, I don't want to do a breathing exercise, but our breath is so powerful. And when we tap into it, I know like when I do engagements, I ask audiences to center themselves with me in this
Mm,
experience that we're having together. We probably should have taken some breaths because, I was running to get Charlie. You were, checking on your lip,
running to
all
do
of
all
the
the
things
things.
before. But
Yes.
yeah, just taking a couple breaths, I find helps not only center myself, but center other people in the shared experience that we're having together.
Right. 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 All right. So tell us, had this corporate career, you got laid off. Now you have this incredible company.
Yeah.
What was building that like? Did you start with consulting? Did you start with writing your book? Like how did take people through that who maybe
Yeah.
are interested in doing something like you did?
Yeah. So I think I started with a little bit of everything. Well, I started when I left corporate. I was, technically a consultant because I didn't go back to get a traditional full time job. I became a 1099 worker with
Right.
a W-2 statement. So I was consulting and working that way. And then one of my clients, Anita Laney, asked me like, what was my secret dream, and that really was a game changer for me. So I'll pose
Mm,
that to your listeners. What's your
I
secret
love that. Your secret
dream?
dream. I've
And
never heard that before.
I
That's
know.
good.
And so
Yeah.
that took me on a completely different journey because one of the things we didn't talk about that I do is like I'm the lifestyle contributor to our CBS station here. And so from the
Oh,
secret dream, I realized that I wanted to do something in television, but I really knew that I wanted to share my message with the masses. And so at that time, I thought that TV was the best way or the best way for me to reach
yeah.
that goal. And so, in doing television, I've always had this gift for the gap. Like I said, I've lived my life by this phrase, Carpe Diem. I started speaking, was talking about like networking, the softer side of business, which was like some soft business development skills. And then, because I didn't know what I was doing as a speaker, I said, oh, sometimes people would pay me, sometimes they wouldn't. I'm just like, I need a book because at least if I had a book, I could like sell my book in the back of the
Yeah.
room and I
Yeah.
could make some money. And so I was going to write this book on networking. In fact, I actually should publish this book because it's halfway done. Um, but my friend had a publishing company, Wise Ink Publishing, and she pushed back on me in a loving way. And she said, Jasmine, why don't you do something? You talk about authenticity. Why don't you do what is authentically you at the core, which is Carpe Diem? And like people are always like, Carpe Diem, what does it mean? Like, how do you do it? And so I wrote the book. I can't believe the book is actually 9 years old, but it is evergreen. I love to
Oh,
say that it
wow.
is the book for
Yes.
such a time as this. If you pick up a copy on Amazon, you can get them on my website, JasmineBrettStringer.com or Carpe Diem with Jasmine. And it's just practical, everyday guidance. But most the thing that I love about it is that it's practical and it's like, oh yeah, you can do this. There are journal prompts, journal reflections, all of the things. So I did the book. I mean, I was doing a lot of things in tandem, actually, Brooke. I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm
Girl.
telling
Yeah.
people I'm speaking. I had a blog. I wrote this book. I had a podcast. I'm leveraging my business skills and I'm consulting. And then, you know what I did that really, two things that really changed the trajectory of the business and helped me with focus is one, I joined the National Speakers Association, my local chapter, and that's the national organization. Give a little shout out to NSA, National Speakers Association. I went through their Speakers Academy, NSA Minnesota. I went through their Speakers Academy, and that helped me learn the business of speaking. Because you meet a lot of people and they say they're
Mm.
speakers and
Right.
coaches.
Yeah.
Things, but this is a business. Like, unless it's a hobby, and it can be a hobby, or it could be like a hobby
Mm-hmm.
business. Because all these people have these side hustles. But no, this is not going to be a side hustle or a hobby business for me. This is going to be my
Right.
main thing. And
Yeah.
I needed to learn the business of it. So that helped me. And then I invested in a business coach, which I probably
Mm-hmm.
should have done in the very beginning when I said I was going to launch a business. But you're like, is it worth the money? All of these things. I will say, like, if you were
Yeah.
tinkering, if anybody is listening and thinking about starting a business or they're in a business and they don't know what to do, it is worth the money to get a business coach, a good business coach, interview some people, get the right coach for what you need. And because that is how you're going to grow. I mean, that's how I was
Right.
going to
Yeah.
grow. Because I don't know about you, Brooke, but I find my biggest problem in the world is I don't know what I don't know.
That's so true though. Like
And
blind
because
spots
I
are
don't
such
know
a big
what I don't
deal.
know,
Yep.
yeah. The coach helps me, professional associations and networks, like they say, like you're the people you hang around with. Like make sure you got some smart people in your group that you can be like, I'm struggling with this. How would you handle this? Talk me off this ledge.
Right. Yes. I know. I think back to being a kid and my dad saying, like, you are who you hang around with. If they jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a
Yeah.
bridge? Like all and he was right. He was freaking right. Like, literally that we absorb good or bad energy, like good or from the people around us. And I think it's so
Yeah.
important. I think both of those things that you said is so important because I think no matter what industry you're in, if you're struggling, find that national or local association and which are often more low cost than a business coach, and then invest in a group or a group coaching or an one-on-one coaching program because that can be a game changer. It was a game
Right.
changer for me. I had a business coach for years. Right now, I have a health and nutrition coach because that was an area of my life I wanted to focus on for a couple of years as I was turning 40 and hormones and all the things changing. And I think that, some people want to
Right.
grow their spiritual lives and they could hire a spiritual coach, but there's so much out
Yeah.
there,
I have a
knowledge that you can
spiritual
get.
advisor that I talk to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you don't have to
Maybe you have
be in
a
the same
couple.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Cause like you don't even have to be in the same city or country with people now, which is what, technology has made us so connected. And I feel like that's amazing. So we're gonna take a break in the podcast though, and we're gonna do my favorite segment, Trivia in the Trenches, and then we'll get back to talking a little bit more about you. Okay. All right, here is your
Okay.
trivia question for today. Which president signed the legislation to create the Secret Service?
Oh my God. I don't even know. My husband has a mug with all the presidents on it. I'm going to say the Secret Service was that, God, was it Eisenhower?
Right? I know. Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, yeah. I should have known that way back then.
But like I had
Way
no
back.
idea. Like I had no idea. Like I was thinking like Jimmy Carter or like I
Yeah.
just had no concept of how long it was ago that it was Abraham Lincoln. And
Well,
we're
maybe because
reading.
he had that assassination attempt. So
Yeah, I don't
maybe,
know. Maybe,
I don't
yeah. And
know.
then and
Okay.
then yeah. So Abraham Lincoln, there's your fun trivia in the trenches for today.
I'm going to
Yay!
use that. I learned something. I'm a little dangerous. So that's a good one because, yeah.
And I like it. I like it. Okay, I have a question about your book publishing. Okay,
Yeah.
so I know it's been 9 years.
Mhm.
I'm interested in publishing a book. I know so many incredible women and men in my circle are interested in publishing a book. So tell us a little bit about the process for that, because you talked about the business of speaking, but you also had to learn the business of publishing a book. So did
Right,
you go hybrid? Did you go traditional? Did you go self-published? Like, talk us through, you had this book and it doesn't
right.
just make it to Amazon, right?
No, it does not just make it to
Right, yeah.
Amazon.
No, it doesn't.
So
There's a lot of work in that.
it's a lot of work. And before I answer that question, Brooke, I just want to say one other thing on the coaching thing,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I recognize that people are in various stages in their careers, in their lives. And sometimes, I'm like, invest the money and go get a coach. It might not be that easy to do that, but
Right,
there
yeah.
are some great books. And I would say, like, we live in this world of social media. One of the things that I think is wonderful about social media is that it gives you access to people that you may not have access to. Don't be afraid to like comment on a post, pop in the DMs. And if there are people doing what you see, what you want to do, what's a part of your vision, I would ask them, like, this is where I am. Do you have any book recommendations for me?
Yeah, exactly.
Because a book can be your first coach too.
Oh, absolutely. And building my coaching business and deciding how I wanted to lay it out, I bought Donald Miller's Coach Builder book
Yeah,
because I run 3 other companies. So this is like I say it's a side gig. It's a 4th company that
right,
I'm really passionate about for my future and like see so many possibilities. Just like you said, you need to do this and how, carving out the time for it. So I don't have the time to pursue it 100%. So hiring a coach is not reasonable yet for me. And it's
right.
not, it's time is a resource just like money, right? So like, and so I was like, I'm going to get this book and I'll start reading through it and working through it as we go. And I mean, I think the book was like $14.99 off of
Yeah,
Amazon. And so I think that we can learn from coaches and also following coaches online. So many of them, especially if they've been doing it for a long time, they kind of dump their old content for free as like promos. Like they'll be
hmm,
trying to get people to sign up for a new program and like and put your email in here and then I'll send you my ebook. And it may be an ebook that they wrote 2 or 3 years ago, but it's still really good stuff.
yeah,
And so you can snag that stuff up for free, even if you're not at a place. I know that's stuff that I've done along the way in my journey. So I'm glad that you brought that up because I think that's really
yeah,
important for people that might just be, starting and not ready to devote the time or the money, or not really sure what to look for in a coach yet. Right. Because
yeah,
that's also scary. It's like hiring a therapist, it's like
exactly.
dating.
And yeah, because they may not know what they don't know. Yeah. And they can even go to the library
You,
and get the book for free. You know what? Because I'm back in
yes,
school, I
yes,
have rediscovered the libraries because I don't have human little
yes.
kids. I guess I missed that whole thing. But I'm like, oh my God, the library, such a great place. And look at all these
It
wonderful books.
is. It is. In our library, I think that, I think my community is amazing. And our library in Saline County is fantastic. They have fishing poles, like, the fancy cake pans you want to get to make some like princess
Yeah.
cake or whatever. They have the cake pans. They have like kits, air fryers you can check out, like all kinds of things at our library.
And
It's
it's the
called the
top
Library of
schools do
Things.
that.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it's like our tax penny is paying for that, and so my 7-year-old is a reader, and so I have gotten back into going to the library every week or 2, and I'm with you. I'm like, "There's so much here." I wanna check it all out though is the problem. Like,
I
I wanna
know.
take it all
You
home
can
with
even
me,
get
right?
Audible books. Yeah.
I
So,
know, and not
okay, we
through
were
the
talking
apps
about
and
the book
stuff.
publishing process. So this is so interesting because
Oh, yes.
I'm preparing as to write another book. And so I'm like weighing my options now. Um, what do I do? So when I published the original book, Seize Your Life, How to Carpe Diem Every Day, I went with a hybrid publisher, Wise Ink Publishing,
Okay.
here based in the Twin Cities. And the reason why I did that is because I started down the traditional book proposal route. And
Mhm.
one, I will tell you that through my research and conversations that I have, you've really got to show that you can market this book, that you have an audience. They basically want, like, I don't want to offend anybody, your first child, your kidney, your right hand, half of
Yes.
your hair strands. I mean, these publishers want a lot these days, because they want to make sure you're in it to win it with them. And
Right.
so another thing that kind of turned me off from at the time of traditional publishing now, because I've already done it, I don't necessarily feel that way, is that for the most times they own the rights to your book. So you write this book
Yeah.
and it is your heart and soul. It was my baby. And you give it to them and they own it. And so, yes, you're the author and the face behind it, but they own the content. They really, they might ask for your input. They're asking for your input as opposed to you making decisions. And I wanted to make a lot of decisions, and I wanted to own my work because it was a labor of love, and that was really important to me. And so that's why I went hybrid publishing, because hybrid publishing, similar to self-publishing, you're putting some money in it, but they are really, connecting me with the cover artist, doing like all of the stuff that you need to know, the
Right.
Library of Congress, the ISBN, getting the editors, like, managing the whole thing. Because I didn't have time to project manage this. I mean, that's basically what they did. I didn't have the time to project manage it. And I wanted a great book because, no disrespect to self-publishing, because I've seen some wonderful self-publishing pieces out there. Oh, what's that one book? I have it here. I mean, this woman, the Shadow Work Journal. Have you done this? Have you heard about this book?
No, who is it?
Amazing. Keela Shaheen. I mean, and she self-published on Amazon, did the whole Amazon, whatever kind of thing. Now, if you are going through anything in your life, highly recommend this. But she did it. New York Times bestseller, over 1 million copies sold. She did another journal. Maybe she got a book deal that way, but just amazing process. And she started as a regular self-publisher right on Amazon.
I love
And
that.
you
I love
really
that.
need to know what's right for you. If you're going to go the traditional publishing route, you got to get an agent, because the publishing companies are not going to talk to you. So, there's a lot of rejection in the process. And maybe that was it too at the end of the day. I was like, I can only handle so much rejection. I get a lot of rejection in my
Right.
everyday
Yes.
life anyway. So let me go this route because it's a little safer for the ego.
Yes. So what is the new book going to be about? Have you
So the
decided?
new, oh my God, I am so excited. And because this is my work with school, I have a framework for increasing your well-being. And as I'm working on this, I'm
Okay.
actually, they always say, like, what problem are you solving? And like,
Right.
um, who is the book targeted for? And I'm writing this book for me, y'all, and I hope you'll like it too. But I'm writing it
Yeah.
for me because, like I mentioned, I lost my father last year. I was a caregiver for 19 months. There were a lot of expenses. Life was like, I mean, like all of the things. So anyway, this framework to raise your well-being, proven, research based, is called rest, because we've been hearing all of these things about rest. I see your aura
Rest.
band on your finger. I've got my aura band here because I want to
Oh,
know
for
how I'm
life.
sleeping.
Yes.
I'm like, I can't, if I don't have my aura band on, can I even sleep? But it,
Because I have to open it when I wake up in the morning to see exactly what happened the night before.
what was my sleep
Yes.
score? I don't know why I'm obsessed with my sleep score. But anyway,
Same.
so the framework, rest stands for R for recovery. Like, and I don't know, you mentioned that you have this fitness, life and health fitness coach.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if you think about an athlete or anybody that's run a race or done things, like, what is the recovery that we have to do for our bodies?
That's
And
good.
what does that look like? So recovery, this a concept of emotional agility. Like, when we talk about our emotions these days, we often talk about them as like good emotions, bad emotions, positive emotions, negative emotions.
I hope you're
And
talking about surfing in that chapter. When you do E, make sure you talk about surfing, because when
okay,
you said the words emotional agility, what popped in my brain was surfing, just like you
yeah,
talked about earlier. I think that's like exactly what I love the word. You hear emotional intelligence, you hear like emotional awareness, but emotional agility, like the ability to bend and flex and get back and fall
exactly.
off and get,
Right.
that's a good word. I like
Yeah.
that. That's
Susan
good.
David, she wrote the book, Emotional Agility. Where's the book at? Right here.
I'm glad I'm
Right
not the
here.
only one that has like
On
all
my
these
on my
books. I'm like,
floor. On my floor. Emotional Agility. Pick it up. It's not, but yeah, another great book. You see, we're book girls, Brooke.
yes, we are. We are. That's how we
um,
learn. Before
yeah,
podcasts and before all the things, right? That was how
yeah.
we learned.
So E for emotional agility, S for support. So again, this
Oh,
goes
that's
back
good.
to like who's on your team, that social support, professional support, but the support you need. And then this is very different from this Carpe Diem, but time, recognizing that doing things, turning a new corner, starting a new journey, it takes time. I would say, like,
Mm,
we are this microwave society. We want it 2 minutes or less. And it
yeah.
doesn't always happen that way. Now, I must admit that time moves really quickly and that we, like you said, time is a finite resource, but we need to recognize and hold value in the power of time.
Right. Yeah.
So that's it.
I love that. That's good. That is
Recovery,
one. I'm over here
emotional
taking
agility,
notes.
support, and
I
time.
cannot wait to buy the first copy. Like, yes, yes, yes. And we will
Look,
definitely
I might
link your
reach out
first.
to you and be like, girl, can I get a testimonial for the book?
That's right. Yes, please do. I would love that.
And then you'll
I
have
have
to
a
have me
friend.
back on.
I will, and we'll have to talk about your new book and the new journey and all the things.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you made a decision if you're going to do hybrid again?
I have not made a decision. A part of
Okay.
me, so another thing about hybrid is you are spending a lot, not a lot of money, but you're putting the money. I don't know. I hear people are like, oh yeah, I made a goal. Like I said I would reach out to 50 literary agents or 80 literary agents. I have not decided yet. Another thing about hybrid publishing, self publishing, and traditional publishing goes back to that time. So right now, if I had a agent and we sold this book and the book was done, I would still be looking at like another year probably for my book to come out. And so depending on where you are in the process, that's time. So do I want to wait?
Yeah.
That time, the book is not done. I mean, so I'm not. I don't have an agent. The book is not done. All of those things. The book is in progress. So it really just depends on how much time if you're willing to wait.
Well, I've got a friend. Her pen name is SR Fabrico. And
Mhm.
so she writes fiction and nonfiction and journals, which is kind of interesting for an author because a lot
Yeah.
of times, you get pigeonholed in the same thing. And so Stacy, her first book was hybrid. And I want to say, like, I'm just like round numbers here, that it cost her like $3,000 or $4,000 to work with the hybrid publishing company. And she had a good experience with them. But she was like, considering that most authors sell like 200 books or less in their whole lifetime, like that's a whole lot of money. And so when she moved on to the rest of the things, she has done self publishing since then. And she does some coaching and stuff too. So if you're interested, you could reach out to her. But she has really like poured herself into like marketing her own books and getting them into, bookstores, and her husband's helping her. And so, but like you said, that's time. So it's kind of like trading one resource for another. So she's done it both ways. So I've loved watching her journey
Yeah.
and getting to learn from her. And then also kind of her like
She was
whatever
on the
attitude.
podcast, wasn't she? I feel like I
Yes,
listened
she
to
was
her.
on the
Like,
podcast,
yeah,
and her
I
whatever
remember.
attitude. Cause I'm like, Stacey, are you going to change pen names for nonfiction versus fiction? Cause her fiction books, girl, are just everything.
Uh
And
oh.
she's like, no, I'm not. I'm just going to keep the same. I don't care. Like, I'm just writing under this name and I'm going to write whatever I want to write. And I'm like, get it, girl, get it. Cause I love that kind of audacity,
Well,
because I
yeah.
think sometimes we can feel like that we have to do what the industry says or what, a coach says or what anyone else says. And so I think that there is a certain amount of us that just have to decide what's best for us,
What's
at any
best for
particular
us.
season. Any
And
particular
I
season,
will say, I'm trying to move away from this language hustle. Not that it's a bad word, but I
Yes,
just want to change from that mindset. But I worked
same.
very hard with my book, and even now, I'm still selling my book actively. I've sold over 4,000 copies of Seize Your Life. I sold it in the Costco myself, so I leveraged those good old corporate sales skills.
Get
So,
it, girl.
and
I'm
like I
so
said, I think that
proud.
I'm going to send you a copy of it, Brooke, so you can take it on spring break
Please.
with you.
Yes.
But it is still very appropriate for a time like this. In fact, I was just at a mastermind with an amazing speaker, Phil M. Jones, and his book is exactly what to say, and he's expanded it. But his guidance is like, if you're not married to your book for 10 years, if you're not willing to hunker down with it for 10 years, don't even write the book.
That's good. Cause like when you talk about like 9 years ago, you published
Yeah.
this book. Okay. Well, you published it 9 years ago, but you started writing it when, and then you started working with the publishing company when, and then the
Well,
art
I did it
cover.
all
And then
within a year. I did it really quickly, and that's why I
oh,
went. One of the reasons I
wow.
did it.
But you said that, was that like after your transition out of corporate?
Yep.
Yeah. So you had that time and that focus and that this is what I'm
Yeah,
going to do.
right, exactly.
I'm
But there
so
is
proud
no
of you.
thank you, but I want everybody to know and you to know that there is no right or wrong way. You just have to
Yeah.
be willing to work on it. I mean, like I said, I sold in the Costco. I used to not go, we drive around. I always have a case of books in my car, maybe not all the time I used to. And if I stop in a cute little gift shop, I'm like, would you like to buy 7 copies or 5 copies of Choose Your
Yeah.
Life on consignment? And even like learning the language, like it's consignment, you sell your books to stores at a discount, there's a split. I mean, everything has its own unique language and a learning curve to it. So whatever venture you are going to decide to venture into or journey to take, you have to make sure that you're willing to do the research to learn so that you can be successful.
I love that. I love that. That's so good. Okay, I have one more question to ask you.
Yeah,
It's not even my closing question that I ask everybody, but this one's from your bio. So in
yeah.
your bio, you were a woman of promise by the Girl Scouts. Were you a Girl Scout?
On my honor. Yes, I was
Oh
a
my
Girl Scout as a
gosh.
young girl. I
A
should send
little
you this video to put in the
uh,
show notes. But yes,
oh,
I was a
yes,
Girl
please
Scout.
do.
I,
Oh my
yeah, I
god.
don't know if it was my first sales job, Girl Scout cookies, but
Yes, the entrepreneurs. Those are budding
yeah,
entrepreneurs.
exactly. Were you a Girl Scout?
I was not, but well, I was a Daisy Scout and then we moved. So I never moved into like
I was a Girl Scout. That's
I
a
think just
branch.
like the beginning, right?
Daisy Brownie.
So
Yeah.
one of our little local gas stations, like it's super old and country. They are letting the Girl Scouts sit up front right now. And he was telling the owner and I are friends, and he was telling me a story last week about how little girls out there. And he went out to buy some cookies, and she's like, "Oh, they're $5 a piece." And he was like, "Oh, okay. Are you running any specials?" And she was like, "Yes, you can get 4 boxes for 20." And I'm like, "That is what I'm talking about, girl. You get
Yes.
it. Like,
Yes.
yes, that
She
is it. Do not
understands language.
devalue. Yeah, do not devalue yourself. You've got
Yeah.
this." And so
But she
I saw that in your
understands the
bio.
language. Like
It
she knows
is.
that people like a bundle, even though we all know
It's
that
the
4 times
same
5 is
price.
20. But hey, he asked, "Are we running any specials?" And we do
Yeah,
have a
that's it.
special. You buy
That's
4.
right.
Yeah,
You get 4 of them Samoas for $20.
that's a
Love it. I
deal.
love it. All right, do you have any questions for me before we wrap up today?
Okay, so you said you are venturing into coaching in your
Yes.
3 businesses. I don't think I know your 3 businesses. I wanna know what's exciting you the most right now and what's a challenge you're dealing with?
Okay, yeah, so what excites me the most is building future, like, leaders in my
Mhm.
companies, and in life, it's helping people get from where they are to where they want to be,
Getting
and I
to
don't
that
think there's
vision
a
point.
Yes, I don't think that there's a right way to get there, but so my coaching program is going to be focused on life and business coaching, and
Mhm.
I've done a lot of thought on this, and the reason for it being life and business is because some businesses need help reading P&Ls, and they need help learning how to do a cash flow statement, and they need help with those things, but fundamentally, it's the human that needs the work, if that makes
Oh, yeah.
sense. And I've learned that in my leadership journey. Like for me, if there's ever been something come up in my businesses, I always want to turn back and look at myself and go, what part of my leadership led to this? Right. And so helping people be able, like you said earlier, you don't know what you don't know, see those blind spots and know that tomorrow is just a new day. And that you can
Right.
always learn something new and grow from where you are, right? And you don't have to be judged today on a past version of yourself. And I think that that's super
Exactly.
huge. And so that's what's most exciting for me right now. And so I've started writing 2 books. See, that's the problem is I started writing one and then I started writing another one. And like, so now it's like, which one am I going to pursue? Right. And so I have these questions like, okay, am I going to hybrid? Am I going to self-publish? Like, what am I going to do? So I'm very interested in that. So I have timelined myself in that I'm launching a one-on-one asynchronous coaching program. So instead
Oh.
of doing like live hour calls,
Mhm.
they'll be like check-ins, and then I'll video people back and give them feedback and things like that. So for busy people, it will fit in their schedule a little bit better. So I'm going to launch that first, and then I'm going to go back to working on my book and getting that published as well. So I'm really excited about that. The other part of your question is what I'm struggling with. Okay. So I'll tell you what I gave up for Lent. So the
Okay.
podcast that's going to come after this is going to be talking about me, what I gave up for Lent. So I gave up fixing people for Lent. And people are like, what? And so I think in my life, I'm also a Christian, that I have held on to the idol of control for so long. And I really
Oh,
was like,
I have
what do
that
I need?
too.
Yeah, I'm like, what do I need to give up for Lent? Like, what do I need to give up? And it's fixing people and realizing that I am not responsible for managing the emotions and reactions of adults. And so
That's good.
I I have advice for everybody on everything about their life, but not everybody wants it. And so I can't put my should onto other people. Now, if you're in a close friendship, mentor, coaching relationship, like that's different when your friends asking you advice, those kind of things. But in my brain, I have realized that I spend so much energy thinking about if only they would, then it would be so much
Mhm.
easier for them. But like that's not on me. And I need to
Yeah.
take that energy back.
Yeah.
And
I'm
so
working
I
on
have
sticking to boundaries this Lent because, like, I have a bias for action. I think you have a bias for action, Brooke, from what I know,
yes.
my limited knowledge and
Yes.
listening to you. We are do girls. And sometimes, I like to say yes, 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 yes. And
Yeah.
no, I've got to learn no.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you read The Best
So
Yes yet?
boundaries is my Lent.
There's a book called The Best
No, the
Yes.
best.
Yes, it's a good one. And I'm sure
No.
there's some podcasts on it too, but it's a book about how every yes you give, like you're kind of putting a roadblock into the way to what would have been your best yes. So if you will learn to
Right.
save your yeses for when they really
Mm,
matter, like that is pivotal moments in your life. And so it just kind of empowers you and teaches you like the power of the word no, and no being a sentence with a period after it.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm great at that, but it definitely like helped me like reshape like I'm not meant for everything or everyone, you
Yeah.
know?
I always say
Yeah.
everybody doesn't like jasmine tea, and that's okay.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That is good. And secret
Look, I
dream.
got my
What is your
little jasmine tea box right here.
Oh, that is the cutest thing
And
ever.
then,
So
like I said, I'm showing all the other books. I got to show Seize Your Life, How to Carpe Diem for
oh,
everybody listening
wait,
and watching.
that's your book?
This is
That's your
my
book.
book.
It's
Yeah. So
beautiful.
I love it. Yeah. And you see like your journal reflection. So you're going to send me
Okay.
your address, or Rebecca will,
Yes.
and I'll drop it in the mail today.
Yes. Yes, please do. So I'm going to spend my spring break with your journal, and I'm going to be
Yeah.
reflecting over this concept of the secret dream. Like, what is the
Let me
secret
know.
dream?
Yeah. Send it to
Yes.
me when you get the answer.
I have a friend that I am coaching on business, and she is coaching me on content creation and social media and building a platform. And so we
Mhm.
spend an hour and a half together every month, and 45 minutes is what like we work on her stuff, and then 45 minutes we work on our stuff. So we barter. And she's just excellent at some things that I'm not, and I am stronger in some ways that she's not. And so she asked me at our meeting in March, at the first week of March, she said, "What does the next 10 years look like for you?" And my husband and I have been in the last 2 years having secondary infertility struggles. And so, what I thought the next 10 years would look like is not what I think the next 10 years is going to look like now. So, I don't even know how to answer that question. So, I think that like that secret dream concept, like thought, is like, I need to revisit that because I don't know. Like, I know what I felt like was my dream, but like that may not be what's for me.
Mm.
And so I love that. The secret dream. You need to put that in the new book too. I don't know where, but it needs to go in the new book too. That's good.
That's in my keynote, but it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's in your
I have a
keynote.
whole
Okay, yeah.
project in my head about secret dreams. So,
Okay,
like
and
you said, like all the things.
I have a conference too. I'm going to shout out the conference here, and I'm going to put it in our show notes because I'm talking about it. But there's a conference my friend Heidi Weber, she's been on the podcast too, runs called Not Your Mama's Conference, that I think
Mm,
you would be it's a women's conference. It's not spiritual. It's not leadership. It is not business. It is women. Just for the
okay.
girls. And it's in Texas. It's a girls' weekend. And I think you would be a fabulous speaker at it. So I'm going to send you some
Okay.
information on that
Are you
too.
gonna connect Heidi and I? Yeah. I'm speaking
Yes.
in Texas. I know in August I'm speaking at the Frisco Chamber of Commerce, their Red conference. I'm speaking in Oregon at their Women's Leadership Connection conference
Oh, I
in
love
May.
that.
If you
I
have any
love that.
listeners in
Yeah, I think
Oregon,
you would be
or yeah,
great
I would love this.
for the
I,
women's conference. Yeah, Yeah, we'll have to connect
My
you guys. So,
favorite
all right, I'm going to ask
banana
you
pudding recipe is not your mama's not your mama's banana pudding. So I like this not your mama's concept.
Stop it. That's so cute. That is so cute. Okay, I'm going to ask you the same question I ask all my guests before we wrap up the episode. What is one thing you've always wanted to do but haven't done yet?
Oh my goodness, one thing I have always wanted to do that I have not done yet. There are a lot of things, but I love Oprah. If you read my book, you're going to read these Oprah stories. So I really want to like cook a meal with Oprah one day, like
Ooh,
I
do
want to be like,
it.
hey, girlfriend. And I know she likes tequila and we're cooking. Like, I normally sip on wine when I cook, but maybe we're sipping on some margaritas and we're just, talking, kind of having like a co mentoring, not like heavy agenda, but just womening in the kitchen.
Womening. I love that. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. That's a good one. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been so much fun, and I cannot wait to support you and merge our communities online
I
together.
know.
And
I'm so
I feel like
excited.
it's so great that you were here. Until next
Thank you.
time. Thanks for listening to the Navigating Personal Growth podcast. I'm Brooke Plack. Join me again next week on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. This podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.